How is everybody doing? We're going to take a look at Prefab Sprout on compact disc. Prefab Sprout are probably one of the most underrated groups of all time. The chief songwriter is Paddy McAloon. His brother Martin is also in the band, along with backing vocalist Wendy Smith. And yeah, Neil Conte was their drummer for a long time. But their stuff from Swoon, I guess, in the 80s all the way up to Jordan the Comeback in 1990 would be the pinnacle of the band's work. But there's other gems in there too, so let's investigate. Swoon, songs written out of necessity, for you that don't know, was the first album by Prefab Sprout. It was released in 1984. It's pretty different than a lot of things that came out around that time. It wouldn't be my favourite because Steve McQueen, that came a year after, is an absolute masterpiece, and Swoon has kind of hints at what was to come, but some good stuff on here. A bit complex as well. Songs are complex, lyrics are complex. Don't Sing, that's a great track. Cue Fanfare, Green Isaac, Here on the Erie. Cruel, that's a great track, I really like that. Couldn't Bear to Be Special, I Never Play Basketball Now, Ghost Town Blues, Elegance, Technique, Green Isaac, 2. Yeah, it's got a slightly unpolished sound as well. You know, some of it sounds kind of live in the studio. It reminds me of protest songs. Slightly rough. But yeah, it's not a bad album. It's not a bad debut. It sums up Prefab Sprout. The sound is here, the arrangement and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so there you go, that's Swoon. The second album was released in June 1985. This is possibly their best album. It's probably my favourite. There's a handful of fantastic songs on this that are timeless, and I could just listen to them over and over again. Steve McQueen, Triumph motorcycle on the cover. Steve McQueen was a big fan of Triumph motorcycles, and I think that's the one they use in The Great Escape, as far as I know. I could be wrong. This album is fantastic. Opens with Farron Young, kind of a synthetic, kind of a country track. Bonnie, that is probably the best Prefab Sprout song of all time. It really is absolutely fantastic. I love the lyric, I love the music. Appetite, that's another good one. When Love Breaks Down, that was released as a single a couple of times, and didn't have much success, but eventually got into the charts, I think in early 1986. Goodbye Lucille, #1, that's another good one. Hallelujah, Moving the River. The album gets lighter as it goes on. Horsing Around, Desire As, that's quite down, that one. Blueberry Pies, Windy Angels. Yeah, it's a great album. Produced by Tom Dolby. The red case here, I think, is from around 1990. It's the Nice Price from CBS, which became Sony. And yeah, really good. All songs produced by Thomas Dolby. Mixed by Thomas Dolby and Mike Shipley. The exception of Love Breaks Down, which was produced by Phil Thornley and remixed exclusively for this record by Thomas Dolby. Yeah. I like this here. It says, due to the exceptional length of this record, play loud. I think that was for the vinyl. Yeah, it's a great album. It really is. It's a masterpiece. Next up is Two Wheels Good. No, you're not seeing things. This is the US version of Steve McQueen. They couldn't use the name Steve McQueen in the US for some reason. There was some bit of a issue. There was some issue with the family estate or something like that. This one has the same tracks except 3 bonus tracks. The Yearning Lines, He'll Have to Go, that's a cover. The old Jim Reeves song, wasn't it? And Farron Trucking Mix. It says Farron here, not Farron Young. That was a country band in the US. Yeah, so it's slightly different, isn't it? Yeah. This one was released on Epic. Different layout. It has a fold out instead of a booklet. But everything else is more or less the same, except the credits for the extra tracks. A very nice thing to have, and nice collector's piece as well. And it's nice to get the extra tracks. There's not much difference really. 2 wheels good, written up in the corner instead of Steve McQueen. And next up is From Langley Park to Memphis. This was released in 1988. This was a big album at the time. Probably broke them to the international market, I guess. All because of The King of Rock and Roll, which is a great track, and Cars and Girls. It's a good album. It's quite lush and it's quite I won't say overproduced, like, but it's got orchestras and stuff like that and everything on it. I remember that. It's very, very polished. Enchanted Nightingales, Hey Manhattan. It's a good album. It's entertaining, you know. It shifts a gear up on Steve McQueen in some ways, but yet it's kind of shiny enough that you don't really. It doesn't affect you as much, whereas Steve McQueen is affecting, and it makes you think, and it actually does get to the heart, you know. Venus of the Soup Kitchen, and yeah. Pete Townsend plays rhythm guitar on a track on this. I think Stevie Wonder plays harmonica as well on one track. This was quite big at the time. Yeah, Nightingales, Stevie Wonder harmonica. But it is a good Prefab Sprout album. I prefer it way over Swoon any day. Next up is Protest Songs. Now, this is incorrect in the actual chronology of albums, but this one was released in 1989, but it was actually recorded in 1985. I can't remember the story behind it not being released. It's kind of their lost album, and it's got 10 tracks on it. The World Awake, that's a great track, and Life of Surprises, that's really good as well. But to me, this it sounds like it's live in the studio, and it's a bit one-dimensional, and like this, it's nowhere near as good as Steve McQueen. You know, some people say it's a companion to it. It's definitely not as good as Steve McQueen, and there's no mistake about that. Yeah, I liked it when I first bought it, but it's not my favourite by any means. And Protest Songs was originally to be released in December 1985, and chronologically belongs between Steve McQueen and From Langley Park to Memphis. Yeah, you can put it in there. But yeah, like I said, it wouldn't be my favourite. Yeah, there's something missing. It sounds like really good quality demos. That's what I would kind of call it. So yeah. Next up is Jordan The Comeback. This is a great album, it really is. It's quite long, it's got 19 tracks on it, but yeah, I think halfway through it might lag a little, but at the same time I'm looking for Atlantis, Wild Horses, Machine Gun Abita, We Let the Stars Go, Carnival 2000. They're all very engaging, great sound quality. I think this one was done again by Tom Dolby. And then you've Jordan The Comeback, and then Jesse James Symphony, Jesse James Bolero. That's probably my favourite thing on the whole album. I love the lyric story of Jesse James. Then you got Moondog, and then All the World Loves Lovers, All the Boys Believe Anything, Ice Maiden, Power Smith, The Wedding March. Kind of, yeah, meanders a little bit towards the end. But One Is It Broken is probably one of the best Paddy McAloon ballads ever. Michael, Mercy, Scarlet Nights, Doo Wop and Harley. But it is a great album. There's no doubt about that. If you're a fan, this will be eating food and drink. I'm not with it today. It's a good album, and I would say definitely in the one of the top Prefab Sprout album, and it was released in 1990. Next up is A Life of Surprises. This is a greatest hits from 1992. And it does exactly what it says on the tin. You've got The King of Rock and Roll, When Love Breaks Down, The Sound of Crying, Far and Young, Carnival 2000, Goodbye Lucille, number 1, Johnny Johnny, I Remember That, Cruel. That's the only song here from Swoon. That's a good song as well. Cars and Girls, We Let the Stars Go, Life of Surprises, Appetite, If You Don't Love Me, Wild Horses, Hey Manhattan, All the World Loves Lovers. The Sound of Crying and If You Don't Love Me are exclusive to this collection. They were not on any albums. That's why you need to get this, so you can have them. Like I said, it's a nice compilation. There's also another one called the 24 Carat Collection or something like that, and that's a double disc, so it's probably got more of an anthology vibe about it. Next up is Andromeda Heights. This one was released in 1997. It was nearly 7 years since they released Jordan when this one came out. Again, it's very, very polished. It sounds more like Paddy McAloon solo than Prefab Sprout. A lot of the stuff is, produced by himself. Electronic bass lines and drum machines and stuff like that. But there's some good songs in it. It's really good. Electric Guitars is good. Prisoner of the Past is excellent. The Mystery of Love is good. Life's a Miracle. Reminds me of Burt Bacharach, those songs. Anne Marie, Whoever You Are, Steal Your Thunder, Avenue of Stars, Swans, The Fifth Horseman, Weightless, Andromeda Heights. Not bad. It's a little bit long again, and it's still enjoyable, but it kind of lacks something. Looks like a band effort, but it lacks something. The others do play on it and stuff like that, but yeah, it's one that you can kind of take or leave. Again, if I had a choice to listen to this or Steve McQueen, it would be Steve McQueen. Next up is The Gunman and Other Stories. This was released in 2001, hot on the heels of Andromeda Heights. This was a kind of a concept album, but when you listen to it, really it's just another great collection of Prefab Sprout songs. This one, it's a good album. Some of his best songs are actually on this, and a lot of them were covered by other artists back in the 90s. It's got the Western theme because he was always obsessed with cowboys growing up. And Cowboy Dreams, that was a hit for Jimmy Neal. Wild Card in the Pack, I'm a Troubled Man, The Streets of Laredo. Not long for this world. Love will find someone for you. Cornfield of Blades. When you get to know me better. The Gunman. I think Cher covered that. And Blue Roses. Jimmy Nail again, I think. And Farmyard Cat, which is a bit of a strange one. Produced by Tony Visconti. And there's some good musicians on it as well. So it's a pretty good production, yeah. Yeah, there's some great stuff on it. So yeah, it was kind of their least popular album. His least popular album, but don't let that put you off. It's still a Prefab Sprout album, and yeah, good. That's quite funny, Martin. It's quite convincing as a cowboy then. Yeah, this, like I said, it's one I never really got into until recently, and it's actually not bad at all. Next up is Let's Change the World with Music. This one was released in 2009, but it was actually recorded in 1993, and what you get here are high quality demos that Paddy did himself. But the album was shelved for some reason. It was supposed to be released in 1993, and it never did. And reading the sleeve notes and stuff like that, he talked about beach poems and stuff like that, and all the people he looked up to. But this one, again, is left in the can for some reason. And there's probably a lot more there as well. Yeah, but it's good and well worth investigation. Next up is Crimson Red. This was released in 2013. This album is purely Paddy on his own, recording everything, and it's mixed by Callum Malcolm. And he had some good songs. He was mindful of Prefab Sprout's artistic direction when he was recording the songs, so it's quite good. Yeah, there's some nice songs on this. Some of his songwriting reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Webb, great American songwriter. Yeah, it's worth having. It's quite good. Did the whole lot himself. Yeah, so it is. It's good. And again, well worth picking up. So finally we have I Troll the Megahertz. This was released in 2019, but it was actually released in 2003 as a Paddy McAloon solo album. It had the white cover with the red and the blue lines. This one is more elaborate. It's an unusual album in that it's mainly instrumental, and yeah, nothing stands out on first listen. Yeah, you need to read the sleeve notes to figure out what's happening. I Troll the Megahertz itself is a long track, about 20 something minutes, and then we have 8 shorter tracks, but there's spoken word on those by some woman, and there's also a male talking on that, but it's mainly instrumental. There's some kind of jazzy stuff as well with muted trumpet, reminds me of Miles Davis and stuff like that, but it's probably the oddest album. These are the lyrics or the words for the main piece. It's probably one of the oddest albums that have come out I never bought it back in the day, but I got this recently. Let me see. Oh, it's all sealed up and stuff there. Yeah, so it's it's a far cry from Steve McQueen or Swoon. It's just an unusual beast. That's it. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.